G'day there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Travel and Sip. My name's Kieran, and I'm joined, as usual, by my good friend Ingrid. Hi there, Ingrid.
Hey, Kieran.
So this episode today, we are continuing our journey of a very close neighbour of ours, New Zealand. Last episode, we did a little tour of the south. So, as always, where are we off to this time round, Ingrid?
Yes, this time, of course, we have crossed into the North Island of New Zealand.
Great.
So we're over on the inter-islander ferry, perhaps, from the south, or maybe we've flown straight in, and we're going to begin our chat in Wellington, I think. And Kieran disappeared. Okay. Well, here we are in Wellington, in the North Island. So we've got the map there of the North Island of New Zealand. And you can see there right at the bottom of the North Island is Wellington. So I have been to Wellington once before, and it was about 10 years ago now, probably a little bit less. But it wasn't on the same trip as I did that first South Island trip that we spoke about last time on the show. It was in a separate journey that I did, and started the trip off in Wellington, and then actually travelled by train on the Northern Explorer all the way up through the North Island and into Auckland. So this particular trip was about 10 days long. So I spent the first few days in Wellington. So when Kieran can get back online, there he is.
Hey, I'm back here. Sorry, technical difficulties. One of the joys of doing this from home, isn't it? But we're back on board. Sorry, I missed your introduction, but
no worries. So we're up to Wellington. I've explained my trip in Wellington in terms of where I started my journey. So yes, this of course is the Beehive. So you've been to Wellington too, haven't you, Kieran?
We did. So when we travelled over there, we took the ferry over from Picton to Wellington, and just really spent a night there. And I've got a couple of memories there. One was the real windiness. It's known as the Windy Wellington, I think, and it certainly was coming in on the boat there. It was a bit choppy. And secondly was Cuba Street. We went out for a nice dinner down Cuba Street, which is the alternative area of Wellington, and quite a hip little place. Lots of great food, coffee, meals, that sort of stuff. And we had a beautiful dinner down there. So that's my experience. But yeah, tell me about yours, Ing.
So funny, Kieran. My two experiences I can actually relate similarly to yours, but in a little bit of a different way. So firstly, when you talk about windy, I actually arrived the day after they just had an earthquake there.
Oh, okay.
The first night that we stayed there, they had aftershocks, and I'd never experienced that before. And we're staying on the 9th floor of the hotel, and actually got shaken so much I woke up in bed. And it was quite terrifying to feel that.
That's your first earthquake?
Yes, definitely the first time I felt that. But there they are quite used to it in New Zealand. So, reasonably common occurrence. And, of course, we spoke last week a little bit on the Christchurch earthquake, which was a terrible one that they've had in recent years. So I had that. And then the other thing with speaking of food in Cuba Street was actually when I was in Wellington, it was the Wellington On a Plate Festival, I think it's called, their food and wine festival that they have.
Yes.
Every year, and it's in August actually each year, so that was the time of year that I was there. So it was supposed to be actually this month, but because they're going through another lockdown at the moment, they've actually pushed it back to next month. So
makes sense.
Great, fantastic food festival in Wellington. So I really hope they get that off the ground this year, because I'm sure it will bring a lot of people out and about in Wellington as well.
Well, a great event, and we know that New Zealand are world leaders, and that brings me to my first Did You Know for today, Ingrid. So can you tell me, Ingrid, did you know that New Zealand was the first country to give women the vote?
Really?
That was in 1893. very
think
recent,
so.
really, in relative
Very
terms, but
progressive.
very progressive. I think Jacinda Ardern might be their third or fourth female prime minister. So it's they lead the way in a lot of aspects. Our good old neighbours there, the Kiwis.
That they do. That they do. Yes. And speaking of food and wine as well, Kieran, we actually haven't cheers yet because you disappeared off the screen before. So,
well, you can't cheers to yourself, so we better do that. What are you drinking today?
So today I'm actually drinking a craft beer. So
You've mixed it up.
Yes, I have mixed it up because I do love New Zealand beers. And they have a lot of fantastic craft and microbreweries all around the country, both North and South Island. But it's the most common thing I drink. I go to Auckland a lot for work, and I love to go out at the end of the day with clients and have a few beers. And our clients all know that I like to drink good beers, so they've taken me to all these great little pubs and bars around Auckland that serve a great selection of craft beers. So I thought I would have one of those today.
Very refreshing.
You,
well, I'm joining you in the beer stakes, but I've gone more mainstream. New Zealand's export king Stein Lager, sponsor of their cricket team. I'm pretty sure my dad's a Kiwi, and I'm sure growing up we had a fridge full of Stein Lager at home. So so many happy memories. But yes, cheers to you, Ingrid. Might not be a good day for a beer here in Victoria. I think it's the Arctic blobs over us today, but actually that's gone down a treat. So I take that back.
Delicious as well.
So let's continue our tour there in Wellington. Tell me about these gardens here.
Yeah, so this is the Camellia Gardens in Wellington, which is just where the gondola is, the Skyline Gondola in Wellington. So fantastic little walk around in these gardens, and a great little way to escape the city as well. So I really enjoyed this little piece of paradise, I guess you would call it, in central Wellington. So fantastic little getaway there.
Absolutely, but it's a beautiful city, and these beautiful views, of Wellington. So hilly, isn't it? Wellington?
It is full of hills. Yep. So this one's up the gondola. That particular shot, looking back at the city. So yeah, fantastic views over the bays.
Great. And down at the harbour there, what sort of facilities do they have at the harbour? Can you remember? Like, was there a bit to do down there?
Yes, there's a number of different restaurants. They had a market as well. So I think we were there on a weekend, and there was a little open and undercover market. It was a little bit of both. So you could sort of wander through the shops and have a look at that as well. And then you had some cafes on the foreshore, some restaurants. So yeah, plenty to do down there. And further along, not in this sort of area, but further along, there's also the TNL, the National Museum as well. Did you go to the museum when you were there?
No, we didn't, unfortunately, but it's definitely on the list for next time.
Sorry, I've got that name wrong, but yeah, it's the Yeah, it's a great museum, fantastic.
Beautiful. Yeah. So now your trip, if I just caught wind of when you were introducing this little tour around New Zealand, but from Wellington, I think you took a bit of a train, is that right?
We did, yeah.
So there we go.
There I am on the train with short hair. So I actually think this shot was taken on the same trip, but this might have been in the south before we flew into Wellington. But yeah, it's the same style of trains, and it's called the Northern Explorer. It runs from Wellington to Auckland, and it takes a full day. But we actually split the journey pretty much in the middle at Tongariro National Park. So there's actually a railway station called National Park Railway Station.
Okay.
Yeah. So right basically in the centre, near Lake Taupo, Tongariro National Park, fantastic. The ski fields, Mount Ruapehu and Whakapapa is there as well. So that ski fields area. And this is Mount Nyaruhoi, I think is how you pronounce it. And any Kiwis out there can chide me.
I'm sure they can give you a lesson into that one.
But yeah, so fantastic asymmetrical mountain, like beautiful shape. Obviously,
you think you're in Tokyo there with that view, don't you?
It does look a bit Mount Fuji, doesn't it? For
Uh-huh.
sure. Yeah. So I took this shot. Obviously, it's in August, so pretty chilly. And the Tongariro Crossing is a famous walk in the area as well that you can do during the summer months.
Yeah.
We just did a short walk one of the days that we were there, but we stayed at the chateau, which is in the area as well and has a view over that mountain too. So this is the Chateau Tongariro. Beautiful old world boutique hotel. Definitely recommend, and a great spot to stop. So if you can break up the train journey and you are doing that, I definitely recommend it. I would have liked to have stopped at a couple more places on the way as well, to be honest, if I'd had more time. But it was quite a quick trip with work and everything. So could only squeeze in a couple of days. So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, well, I think when we did our trip, we drove around, and the thing I'd say, the train, you can sort of relax when you're driving. You can't really relax if you're the driver, because there is not a straight road on the North Island, I don't think. Everything is windy, and you're going through these mountains. It's so beautiful, such a pleasure to drive. And you can then stop at places. We stopped at Taupo for a bit and these sort of things, but but you need to be on the ball, because it's such a windy track. But plenty to see. The thing I noticed driving in the north compared to the south was not so many sheep. In the south, you see sheep everywhere. In the north, not so much. Not so much.
Yeah, I never even realized about that, but yeah.
And very actually, it's something you pick up is just the difference between the two islands. As well, in terms of the geography, the geology. I think you sort of and the topography, perhaps. I'm not sure if I'm using those words right, but anyway. But yeah, the south is you've got the big mountain ranges down there in the south, but when you're driving, I guess outside of that, it's a lot of green rolling hills and these sort of things as well. Whereas the north is very mountainous and very rocky. That sort of thing. You don't see so many. Well, my experience anyway, you didn't see so many green rolling hills and therefore not so many sheep, I guess. So anyway, just an observation. But look, so the train journey ends in Auckland.
It does. Yes.
So and here we are, the famous tower in Auckland.
Yeah, so obviously this one's the one that everybody knows, Auckland's Tower. So with the casino as part of it as well, and you can go up obviously the observation tower as well, and get a view over the city. Which this is the view here over the harbour. So you can obviously see 360 degrees as well. So this is just one way of looking out over the city. And you can also do what they call the Sky Walk, I think it's called, which you go outside onto the platform and you can walk around whilst you're attached to a rope. And they've also got an abseiling thing. So it's not a bungee jump exactly, but it is sort of a drop where you just drop off the edge on a rope that lets you down really quickly, and then they unhook you at the bottom, I think. I've seen a lot of people do it from when I was standing at the bottom looking up. It looks quite scary. It's not my type of thing, but I know a lot of thrill seekers love it in Auckland.
No doubt. I think the week we were there, Beyonce had done it the week before. We just
really?
missed Beyonce, but she'd jumped off the tower. So something for everyone. And Auckland's a great little city, isn't it? It's there's a heap to see and do. Beautiful walking place. Hilly again. Everything in the North Island is hilly, but nice to walk around. And the harbour area is sensational. But you can do boat trips. I know while I was there for a bit of work as well, Ingrid and my wife, she did some whale watching and dolphin spotting out of Auckland and these sort of things. So there's just there's a heap to do. What would you go back and do again?
I actually so I'm a big foodie and I love the food scene in Auckland. It's probably one of my favourite things to do in Auckland is to just try a different nice restaurant, usually along the harbour or the waterfront or up around where the casino is as well. There's some great restaurants up there on Federal Street. And I just love them. I think there's fantastic food, fantastic wine, beers. It's just got a great buzz. I love the atmosphere of Auckland and some great cafes too. So even if you're not, into sort of drinking or anything in the evenings, going out in the morning for breakfast even is just such an awesome thing to do in New Zealand. New Zealanders obviously care about their coffee as much as Melburnians as well. So you know you're going to get a good coffee, which is always a plus.
Now, Ingrid, talking of coffees, we on our trip we were skinny latte drinkers. Now, that's the thing you've got to learn is that it's not a skinny latte in New Zealand. It's a
trim latte, yes,
or a trum latte. I think.
Yes, a trum latte. Yep, no, very true. It's actually something I learned when I lived in Sydney for a while too, because you don't say skinny up there either. You say skim.
Skim. Everyone's got a different word, haven't they?
Yes, correct.
Anyway,
so,
there you go. But look, we did a trip together, and our trip we did a little bit of wine sipping, didn't we, on that particular trip?
We did.
When we visited the wonderful Waiheke Island, which from memory, what was it? It was about half an hour or an hour from
half an hour. Yeah, fantastic. One of my favorite day trips from Auckland, and would highly recommend to anyone who has any spare time in Auckland, add on an extra day and get out to Waiheke, even if it's just a day trip. But we stayed a couple of nights, didn't we, Kieran?
We did and loved it. Like we could have stayed more as well. It's only a little place, but so much to do. A lot of great wineries, and I think this is this where we went for dinner? I'm trying to remember.
No, I think that was just the tasting that we did.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think I took a photo of the place for dinner. I can't remember what it was called, but it was on the far side of the island, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But this one here, I think we we had a bit of a relax and watch the sunset.
Yeah, beautiful. One of my favourite spots, and one of the most famous vineyards as well, actually, on Waiheke Island, Cable Bay. That and Mudbrick are probably the two most famous ones, and quite close to the ferry too for day trippers.
Yeah.
So really easy to just pop in there for a quick bite and a tasting, if that's all you've got time for. So.
But my big memory from here is just, I think we got off the ferry and we just didn't know how to get to our accommodation. And this lady pulled up. She said, how you going, guys? Just hop in and I'll take you up there. And away she went. So friendly, really happy place, and some great memories from that trip for sure.
Yeah, it's really relaxed. That's what I love about it. I try and go as much as I can. It's actually so my most recent overseas trip was to Auckland, and I was there for work. But I went over one day early because I had a friend's 40th over there. So I actually popped over a day early and spent the day on Waiheke with about 10 of my mates who'd all come over from Australia to spend some time with our mate in Auckland for his 40th. So yeah, great day out on Waiheke. I was just disappointed I had to come back after the day. They stayed for the weekend, but I had to work. So
next time.
Yeah,
but look, Waiheke, great trip. A couple of other places I just wanted to briefly mention while we're doing a little tour. First up is Rotorua. It's really a place that if you can get to it, it's something that's a bit different in the world. You know you're in Rotorua by the smell. So that you walk in there and the sulfur smell hits you in the face. It's like rotten eggs, but you soon get used to that. To be honest, so it's not as off-putting as it sounds. But it's just a spectacular place. You do these walks around, and there are these hot baths everywhere. The sulfur field. I mean, it's like a different world. Rotorua.
I'd love to go. I haven't been, and I look forward to having an opportunity to go to Rotorua and the areas around there as well.
Well, my one recommendation, well, actually a couple of recommendations. One is visit one of the spas. We did the Polynesian spa, which is just in the government gardens there, and that allows you to have these intimate pool to yourself if you book that with a spectacular view out as well. So that'd be highly recommended. And the other thing is to go and get a Maori experience. There's plenty to do with the Maori culture in Rotorua, and you get there, you can have a history lesson about the people of the area. You get obviously a haka in there, and generally a hangi as well. And a hangi is a feast that's cooked underground, basically. So that's how they kind of roll. And this brings me, I think, to that's from last week. That's okay. So that brings me to. Well, that's right. I think you do know that one, hopefully. But did you know, Ingrid, that not the haka, it's a very imposing kind of dance, and it actually it really gets your heart going, like when you see it live. But not all hakas are war dancers. So the Maori will bring out a haka for a lot of occasions, and it can be sort of ceremonial. It can be welcoming guests and these sort of things as well. So the haka, although it does sort of get those emotions going, it's not always a war dance as such. So there you go. But that's one destination.
Love a haka. Love to
Absolutely. Now, the other place I just wanted to mention quickly was Napier that we stopped at along the way. Napier is an interesting area for its Art Deco architecture. The whole city was leveled by an earthquake in 1931, and got rebuilt. And 1931 was the heyday of the Art Deco period, and so the whole city is really decked out Art Deco style. And these are just a couple of the buildings that you sort of see, but that style is present throughout. And that, Ingrid, brings me to another did you know, and this one is I found really interesting. But did you know that Napier's coastal areas raised by over 2 meters in this 1931 earthquake? So really, what it shows you is that the power of the sort of tectonic forces at work in New Zealand, and you look at New Zealand, and it's all basically these plates colliding, isn't it? That's brought us the whole country. So
it's scary, to be honest.
Absolutely. So they're my did you knows for the North Island. But look, that's my trip, and we as I said, we drove around and had a great time. A few trips, one with yourself there as well, and well worth a visit. So any last thoughts on the North Island, Ingrid? Anything that's on your to-do list?
I really want to get up to the Bay of Islands in the far north and that area. I think that is a beautiful looking area and somewhere I haven't been in New Zealand, so I'd like to get up there. I have also been to the Coromandel Peninsula, actually, which is about 2 hours south of Auckland on the coast. So it sort of juts, it's that beach that juts out on the North Island on the east coast, south of Auckland. So fantastic peninsula to drive around. I went with some friends, and we stayed at Hot Water Beach, and where you can dig in the sand and basically have your own little mini hot spa under the sand at different times of tide. So quite amazing there, and just some great little wineries and cafes and coastline, just beautiful, gorgeous coastline on the Coromandel. So if you've got a car and you've got time, I definitely recommend the Coromandel Peninsula as well as a stop on the North Island.
Perfect. Great. Well, it's been great speaking to you about the North Island, Ingrid, and that concludes our tour of New Zealand. We'll look forward to another destination next time. But thanks so much for your insights into the North Island.
No worries. And as always, drink well, travel often.
Until next time. See you then.
Bye.